Hey guys, if you like what you're seeing, be sure to click below to subscribe and share.
It's not just about the photograph, it's the outdoor experience. Keep in mind everything that you need to know about photography. F-stop, shutter speed, lens selection. Nice photo. I've got beautiful light now. Oh my God. I'm your host, Doug Gardner, and your wild photo adventure starts now. The Southern Appalachian Mountains have long been known for its many waterfalls, lush mountain range, beautiful wildflowers, and abundant wildlife. But rarely is it thought of as a great place for nighttime photography. Well, this week we're going to join up with a good buddy of mine, Kevin Adams, who lives right down here in the valley, and he's going to share with us his techniques for photographing the magnificent night sky. I'm your host, Doug Gardner, and your wild photo adventure starts now. Kevin, as always, it's a pleasure being up here in the Appalachian Mountains with you. You know, we did the nighttime waterfall show with you back last year, and we had such big response. People wanting to know more about nighttime photography. That's the reason I said we need to do a whole show on nothing but night photography. What do you have in mind for us?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
It was.
And I am excited that you are back and that I can have you in my front yard.
Well, I hear your dogs barking.
They're not my dogs. I do live in the country, Doug.
Well, I guess that's good for night photography. You don't have to worry about light pollution.
It is good, but you know what? We are only 20 miles from a medium-sized city that have lights. But we're in a bowl here. We're kind of surrounded by mountains, and you can see the trees that we have all around here. So I can shoot the night sky right from my front yard.
That's awesome.
You know, and the cool thing, the really cool thing about night photography is the night sky is above all of us.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in a big city you can't see the stars that much, but you get out in the country a little bit and look up, and we all see the same sky. It's great. Well, the sky here is going to be cool. We're going to have the Milky Way coming up right through here.
Okay.
So we're going to be shooting the Milky Way doing that, but not just the ordinary Milky Way shot. Instead of just shooting a shot of the Milky Way, I'm going to set up a scene.
Okay.
I'm going to put a tent right here where we're sitting. Make a camp scene.
Okay.
You know?
Cool.
And we'll have that as our foreground.
Well, that'd be a pretty sellable shot. You know, adding a tent, hand to man. I mean, that goes a long way with sellable shots. You know, it's not just a sky scene.
And it adds another interesting element to the photograph, which is what I'm always looking for in my images. You know, just something just a little bit unique, not just the straight snapshot type of
shot. That's well and good, but why do you have me out here in the daylight? We're doing night photography.
The thing about night photography, well, one thing about it is, at night, it's dark.
Right.
So you can't see what you're doing.
Right.
Now, if we were just coming up here and plopping a tripod down and just shooting the night sky, we'd be fine. Right. But setting up the tent or any type of setup shot, if you can, you want to do it in the daytime. So we can get the whole tent set up, we can get the composition set up, the focus set, everything ready to go. And then we can just go back and just relax for a couple hours until it gets dark and come back and do our shooting.
Now, do we have to wait a while after dark or as soon as it gets dark?
Well, now that depends. You can go ahead and shoot pretty soon after it gets dark if you want to get some twilight in the scene. Okay. Now, we're going to have to wait until about 90 minutes after sunset for it to be completely dark so that we can see the Milky Way glaring above.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I guess first step is set tent up.
That's it.
That's an awful lot of setup involved in night photography, much more so than just shooting in the daytime.
Well, for some night shots, yeah. Yeah, that's a big difference with the night photography is getting everything planned ahead. I'll tell you what, one of the big differences is with night photography, what you see is not what you get.
Right.
You know, the long exposures that we use, the high ISOs, the wide open apertures, all of that conspires to make the image look completely different than what we see with our eyes. So we have to plan ahead.
Right.
We have to think about what's going to happen with the image.
Pre-visualize everything.
This setup that I'm doing here is already in my mind.
Right.
It's not something that I'm out here just experimenting with. I know what this is going to look like. It's all planned ahead. I just hope I can execute it. We'll see how that
Well, it's
goes.
looking good so far.
Well, yeah, I hadn't even taken a shot yet. All right, now I want to make sure I get this tripod good and stable. So we'll get this. Even when you're shooting with the wide angle lens, like I'm going to shoot this at 14 millimeter. So even at wide open at f2.8, I still have enough depth of field to get the tint and the sky in.
Okay.
But the other thing that I can do, and I do this a lot, is actually shoot two separate exposures, one for the sky, one for the tint.
Gotcha.
Which what I'm going to do tonight here, and for the tint shot, I'm going to focus on the tint.
Okay.
For the sky shot, I'm going to focus on the sky.
Gotcha.
So I don't have to worry about depth of field issues at all. Okay, now, I'm set up, got the composition, got the focus set. I need one more thing, a human element. This is a tent scene,
Yeah.
you know, I need a camper. Don't you think? All right, here's what I need for you to do. Get over there and stand in front of the tent. Now, I want you to sit in this about right here, let's say. I'm just gonna mount this little guy in there, and this is just a prop. So we really don't care what it's pointed at or what you're looking at. In fact, the lens cap's still on it.
And that's not even gonna matter, because really we're just doing a silhouette here, right?
The idea is to have you silhouetted in front of the tent. I'm gonna go inside the tent. I'm gonna set up a flash inside the tent
Okay.
with the yellow-orange gel on it so that it looks like, you know, like a camp lantern or something like that. I'm gonna pop that flash. You're gonna be silhouetted and gonna be famous.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's do
so
it.
You're just looking through here. But now I gotta get back and look through because I gotta make sure we don't have any mergers, make sure your head's not above the tent and all that good stuff.
right.
So you look through and let me see what that looks like. Okay. Ha! After 5 years of wild photo adventures, you're finally gonna be a star. We got it, that's it.
All right, good. Well, Kevin, it looks like you've got pretty much everything ready. It doesn't look like there's gonna be much room here for me unless you want me sitting on top of you to get this shot. But
I don't even want you sitting beside me.
well, I'm not. I'm gonna get my tripod and I'm gonna get a shot over
You know
here, I
what that is?
believe.
That's gonna make a nice shot right there, just
Yeah.
with the trees.
I mean,
That's
this is a nice
foreground.
element with the tent and the human element, but I think, you know, just
That's gonna look
using the
good.
trees and the sky
Just
and the
don't
mountains.
forget, you're gonna have to take a break long enough to be my model.
Don't worry, I will.
Okay.
All right, I think this is gonna work pretty good. Cable release, we're gonna be dealing with long exposures tonight, so be sure that you got a cable release handy that takes out any possibility of camera shake. And whereas Kevin was focusing on, for the tent, he was focusing on the tent, I'm mainly concerned about the night sky, and then the trees are gonna be my foreground here. So I'm gonna focus on the trees, which are, I don't know, 40 yards, 50 yards from me. That should give me a really nice framing to the bottom portion of my sky. So I think I'm set up here. Well, Kevin, it just dawned on me, we did all this setup and set up the tent, and we've got our tripods out, and we've chose the location, but how do you even know the Milky Way is gonna occur there?
Today, there is no excuse for anyone, any photographer, not knowing sunrise, sunset, where the planets are gonna be, where the Milky Way is gonna be, moon phases, all of that stuff. There's tons of information on the internet. There's apps out there. There's software, free stuff that you can get. So just spend some quality time on there and get the stuff, and you can figure it out. Like I know tonight, the Milky Way, when it gets dark, is going to be right there for you. A little bit later, it's going to move over here. It's going to be right behind the tent for us.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's
awesome.
going to work out
Well, I'm
great.
looking forward to it. I guess it's just a waiting game
It's a
now. We
waiting
still
game
got a little
now.
bit of daylight. So. Well, The sun is set, it's gotten nice and dark now.
Yeah.
You know, we're ready to shoot this. I'm kind of excited about
I am
this.
excited,
You know,
yeah.
I don't do a lot of it, do some nighttime photography, but you know, it seems like an awful lot of work we've gone through just for one shot.
It is a lot of work, but you know, sometimes that's what you have to do to get the shot. But in this case, it's not just one shot we're talking about. I'm actually going to shoot several shots for this. After I do the shot with you in front of the tent and you moved out of the way, then I'm going to set up and do star trail sequence, where I'll do continuous exposures where we have the star trails in the sky.
Blur them out, yeah.
And I'm thinking I might even actually leave the tripod set up here. I mean, it is my front yard, so I can do it.
Right.
And come back in a couple of weeks. We got a meteor shower coming up.
Okay.
So maybe I'll put the camera back on it, the composition's still all set, and then I'll shoot with the meteors in the sky.
Great
and I can have
idea.
the tent put in there. Yeah.
Well, you know, take us through your techniques for how you shoot these type of scenarios.
Okay, it is a lot of work to get everything just set up. And you have to be careful about what you're doing. You have to watch every tiny little thing and just make sure, because I tell you, you get one thing wrong and you miss the shot. And what I'm doing here, as I mentioned earlier, I'm doing this in 2 different exposures. I'm doing one shot for the tent, one shot for the sky. The tent shot, I focused on the tent, and I'm going to be shooting that at ISO 200, aperture of f8, and I'm putting the shutter on bulb because the shutter speed doesn't matter. My exposure here is going to be the flash that's going to go off. I've got a radio remote. The flash is inside the tent, set to wide angle, and I've got a yellow gel on the flash. I'm going to use this radio remote to fire the flash, and when the flash goes off inside the tent, Doug is going to be sitting between the camera and the tent, so he's going to show up as a silhouette. So that's going to be the exposure for that. And since I'm on bulb, then after that goes off, after I fired the flash, then I'll just turn the shutter off. After we get that shot and Doug's moved out of the way, then I'm going to refocus on the sky, and I'm going to change my exposure settings for that. For the sky shot, because I want the sky in the Milky Way to be as bright as it can be, I'm going to change my aperture probably to wide open to 2.8. I'll set the ISO to 1600 or maybe 2000. Sometimes I go up to 3200 if there's not a lot of light pollution. And I'll set the shutter speed to about 30 seconds. Now I'm shooting with the 14mm lens, so I can get by with that without having the stars streaking too badly for that. And another important thing that I've got that you can't see here, but I've got the focus on my lens taped shut. I put tape over it with gaffer's tape so that I don't accidentally change the focus once I get it set for what I'm shooting. And that is very important because there's a lot of gremlins that hang out in the night that can just really screw everything up. Then when I do the star trails, after we've got this shot, now I'll set that different exposure settings for that. For that, I'll probably go with ISO 400, an aperture of f4, and a shutter speed of 4 minutes. And I'll just shoot continuous exposures and try to get maybe about 30 of those and put those together. So I got a couple hours worth of star trails going in there. And that will be blended in with the tent shot. And that's the whole idea. Try to get as many shots as you possibly can, but you've got to watch all of those individual settings for everything and make sure everything is just perfect. Okay, Doug, I'm ready to make you a star. Get in front of the tent. Doug, sit still. Don't move, look through the scope. All right, got you. Okay guys, kill the lights. All right, and one more, we're gonna do one more, okay. Good, good. All right, that's good. All right, you can go and do your own thing now. I'm gonna refocus and do the sky shot now, okay? There are 2 ways you can do your star trail exposures. You can shoot multiple short exposures, or you can shoot one long exposure. The problem with the long exposure with the digital camera is that it shows excessive noise. So what I do is I shoot a lot of shorter exposures and I just stack them as layers in Photoshop. If you don't have Photoshop, there are a number of softwares available, some of them free, that will do the job for you. It's actually very simple.
finally, Kevin's gonna let me shoot a little something tonight. You know, when you're out here doing these type of things, it gets a little bit crowded when you're trying to shoot the exact same scenes, but this is gonna, I think, gonna turn out really nice too. You know, really, as far as settings go, my settings aren't that much different than what Kevin was doing. The only difference is that he is incorporating, you know, the hand of man using the model and the tent. But for this shot, I really want to tell a more natural story. And so I just have the night sky and the Milky Way. And then I'm using, as far as composition is concerned, I'm using the tree line and the mountain range in front of me across the bottom part of the frame. And that's kind of an anchor point. You know, so many times you see just straight up shots of, you know, the night sky with nothing but stars or a moon or the Milky Way or planets or whatever. And, you know, sometimes it gets a little bit boring. So having that other little interest point really kind of helps add something to your photograph. So when you're trying to determine exposure for the shot, you know, you're going to be in the range of 25 to 30 seconds for your shutter speed, and you're going to be using an aperture in the range of 2.8 to f4, somewhere in there. Now, depending on the camera, you're going to be using an ISO range of between 1600 and 3200. And it's going to take a little practicing and a little you know, trial and error to get those right. And a lot of times, like what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to bracket. I'm going to try several different settings and see what I like best. So I think we've got everything ready. We already set the camera up and got our focus and our composition right before the sun went down. And so all we got to do is take the shot now. So let's see what we got. I'm, of course, using a cable release, and I'm trying not to touch the tripod or the camera because these are very long exposures, and the slightest little bump can cause camera shake, which is going to blur your image. So, all right, guys, if y'all ready, let's go ahead and kill the lights. Oh yeah, I think that worked out good.
Oh yeah, yeah, I like that. Good job.
Yeah, you know, folks, whenever you're out shooting these type shots, don't just take one shot and leave. You know, it's an awful lot of work just to get set up for one shot. Take advantage of it, of the opportunity. Use different lenses, different focal lengths, and even turn the camera vertical. You know, you can drastically change the way the image appears just by, you know, a few little adjustments.
Vertical there, yeah.
Yeah, just doing something a little bit different.
Yeah. Speaking of different, you know, tonight we've been shooting this new moon, so we got all the stars in the sky and all like that. Why don't you come back in a couple of weeks when the full moon's out and let's try something different, see what it looks like.
Yeah, that would be cool. Oh yeah, this is nice. This is really nice.
It's gonna be good. We take a wide angle lens, we'll get part of the rock here, we'll get the falls, this nice tree. We got some sky up here where it's gonna show the stars in the sky. And I think we'll be able to get a fair amount of this nice rock face over here too.
That is really impressive.
It's gonna be good. Now, the moon's gonna rise about 7:30. Needs to be high enough in the sky to fully illuminate the scene.
So 10 o'clock?
I'm thinking about if we come back around 10 o'clock, we'll be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna leave our tripod set up. You're gonna do that now?
Well, ordinarily I'd like to do that when I can, but this is not a good place to leave your camera gear set up. Yeah, so what we'll do, we got the full moon, so we've got the light, and we can see to get our composition and focus and everything. And we'll be just fine.
I guess we could take a flashlight and hit the side of it.
Absolutely, I do it all the time. Just use the flashlight to get your composition set.
All right, well,
that's good.
Let's get out of here and come back.
10 o'clock.
All right.
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm really liking what we're getting here, Doug, with the waterfall in the bottom, a little bit of rock
Yeah.
down in the foreground, and this nice cliff up here.
There's a lot going on
And-
here.
Yeah, and we got the full moon behind us that's fully illuminating everything at the moment, and we got just that little bit of sky up here. And you know what's going to happen? That sky is going to record as blue because it's illuminated by the full
Right.
moon, but it's going to be a blue sky with stars
With
in
stars in it.
Oh,
So
that's just the coolest thing in
It
the
is
world.
cool because
Yeah.
it's going to look like a daytime shot, but
Pretty
stars.
much like a slightly underexposed daytime shot with stars in the sky.
That's pretty cool.
I just think that's cool.
It is cool. And you know, the really neat thing about this is that shooting a waterfall or anything at night with full moon illumination is a much softer light than if we shot the same scene in the daytime.
Good point, exactly. It looks much better. And because we do have the full moon, we can see to compose. We talked about that earlier, get our focus set and everything. Now, you remember the last time you were up here and we were shooting waterfalls at night? We were using a flashlight.
Right, painting.
We don't have to do that tonight.
Right.
You know, our moon is the light painting device.
And we have
Or-
plenty of light to compose and focus.
the whole thing, yeah.
So we're good to go.
Yeah,
now,
let's-
where are you going to start with exposure on something like this?
Typically, when I'm shooting full moon landscapes, I start at about ISO 800, f4, maybe f2.8,
Okay.
and a shutter speed of around 20 seconds. And it's going to vary.
Trial
So we
and
just
error.
start at that and just see what it looks like, and then just make adjustments from there.
All right.
So
Well, you ready?
I'm ready to go. I'm set up and ready to go.
All right,
We just
well-
need to turn these darn bright lights off that you drug out here.
Well, we
Yeah.
got to be able to see, as you know.
I can't.
All right, guys.
Turn them off, guys. Yep.
That's looking really good. Really good.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm loving that. Good job.
Yeah,
Good
that's
job.
awesome.
Cool. You know what? We're starting to lose our moon a little bit. It's just now starting to go back behind the cliff over here, so we're getting
As
a
a
little bit
matter
of
of
shadow
fact-
on the falls.
Well, you know, I was noticing a little bit of shadow there. Why don't we go up to some of the higher elevations where we pass some of
Good
those,
point.
those big overlooks, and maybe we can get
the moon
kind
will
of,
be more out in the open,
and we can get
open
a
view.
landscape shot.
Yeah, good idea. Let's do
So
it.
we might actually pick up some fall color too. So.
Yeah, cool.
All right,
let's do it.
Boy, Kevin, what a difference 2 weeks makes in fall color.
2 weeks can make a lot of difference. Plus, we've gained several thousand feet in elevation to get up here.
Well, I've noticed how cold it got. I had to put my jacket on.
A little bit chillier, yeah. Yeah. But you know what I'm hoping? I know, because we've got the illumination from the full moon, so this fall color is actually going to show up much just like we were shooting during the daytimes. And one thing that I'm going to recommend that we do a little bit differently too, ordinarily I wouldn't shoot so much sky unless there was something interesting happening, like nice
Right.
clouds or something. We don't have those nice clouds tonight, but what we do have is we've got the constellation Orion
Oh yeah.
high up in the sky. So I'm going to shoot a vertical composition that has the fall color, and the mountains in the foreground, and then Orion placed up high
That'd
in
be
the
cool.
sky. Yeah, I think that'll look pretty good.
I like the
With
way
it.
the mountains, I can see just the rim of the edge of the mountains. It's creating kind of a V
Yeah.
shape. So that'll be interesting anchor point at the
Yeah.
bottom of the frame too. So,
Yeah. So all we
right.
need to do is get your guys to turn these darn lights off so we can
so we can see.
so we can shoot. Yeah.
All right, guys, kill the lights.
Oh yeah. I think that's going to look out pretty good.
Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm liking that a lot.
So what do you say we go try a few more overlooks?
I'd love to do that, but before we go, I want to take advantage of shooting a tight shot with my telephoto
Oh, yeah.
lens of the full moon. So let me get my big lens and we'll do
Okay.
that. Then we'll head out down the road.
All right,
All
sounds
right.
good.
All right. So what we got here is one of the most common questions I get is, how do I get a good tight shot of the moon? You know, people send me pictures all the time and it's just this little white speck. And so we've got two things going on there. Number one, they're not near close enough. They don't have enough magnification to actually see the moon. And number two, it's grossly overexposed. Well, the moon is not white. The moon is gray, actually, a light shade of gray, almost perfectly neutral gray. And so the way I'm going to do this is, first of all, I need to get the magnification. So I'm using a 500 millimeter lens with a 2x converter and a 1.4x converter stacked on top of that. So that's giving me a lot of magnification. And from shooting the moon in the past, I know that this is almost going to be a full frame moon. So I should see a lot of detail in the moon, all the craters, all the edges, everything. This is one of the things that blows people's mind. To get an exposure for the moon, thing you need to keep in mind is the moon is not white, it's neutral gray. It's almost perfectly neutral gray as a matter of fact, and cameras are built to determine exposure based on a neutral tone subject. So the moon is actually reflecting the sun's light back to us. That's the reason we can see it. So the same exposures I would use for just shooting a neutral tone subject in the middle of the day is the same thing I'm going to use for shooting this at night. Now we've got so much magnification. With our naked eye, it doesn't look like the moon's moving hardly at all. But when I get behind this camera, that moon, it's actually very difficult to keep the moon in the frame because it's moving very fast and it's magnified with all this lens here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with a setting of 1/500th of a second at f8 and an ISO of 100. And let's see what we got here. All right, guys, if you could kill that light for me just for a second. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind is because we're using a 2x converter and a 1.4x converter, that's taking away some light, so I need to adjust my exposure a little bit off of that, and I'll be dead on the money. So guys, kill the light one more time. Oh yeah, that's looking really good. I hope y'all found that helpful. Kevin, I'm ready to go now. Let's go check out those other overlooks. Well, it's been another great adventure with my good buddy Kevin Adams as we photograph the night sky in the southern Appalachian Mountains. More information about this week's show and Kevin Adams' work is available online. And remember, it's not just about the photograph, it's the outdoor experience, even if it is after dark. I'm your host, Doug Gardner. Thank you for joining me on another wild photo adventure.
Is this it?
This is it. We're here. Ready?
No, but let's do it
All
anyway.
right.
Oh, and okay, we got to start this over again. I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm sorry. That just sounded like I'm sorry. Let's just do the whole thing over and I'll be fine.
For the many waterfowl, mountains have long been known for its many waterfowls. Jeez. Sink 6. Sorry.
Hey guys, if you like what you're seeing, be sure to click below to subscribe and share.